Stream Dream is alive. February 24th, 12:14 p.m. District Court number 4. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Emma didn't come back? Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man. Same as you, wanderer. The trails of civilization. Occasionally helping elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get that. We get it. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard, huffing, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A Desposito's soul is as boundless as the desert sand. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. Day of the crime. My job was to keep a wary eye on the bone orchid. They say I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room protected by 2 security cameras anyway. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. Can't say I particularly care for your beard. But you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras in the ID reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Well, yes. What about the fingerprint activated locks on the evidence locker? Fingerprint activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickey are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not good with machines or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses. Now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Dude, I'm confused with his first statement. What is the bone orchid? Exactly how did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitors. That room's still so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who entered the records. You entered them? Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase the tape, it felt like I was erasing part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do me any good. So, in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. They say I was supposed to make the rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Wait, no, wrong button. His fingerprints. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Huh. Listen good, real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered with blood. Witness, what is the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the scene of the crime? The blood was wiped away. However, a luminal test clearly reveals this. Well, Officer Marshall, it seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall. About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints found at the scene of the crime. Wait, hold on, I didn't do it right. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murder touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The blood stain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears to be valid, although there is room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Like like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. That's because you... How did you put it? Pay your specs once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happened to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I say. That was the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's there now is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprint data never was removed from the locker program. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without even knowing. Ah. Yo, Ray, how's it going? But still, that last statement where he mentions the glove, it really stands out. How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah? I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Marshall's fingerprint. That's a logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? This seal of blood in the desert. It's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that is this. The security tape. So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime? Isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without getting caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, can you show us the evidence in the video that indicates Officer Marshall was present? Please do so now. Alright, we got the evidence. Got the evidence, and I got the remedies. It's the experience. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this. Show us. Okay, hold on. Hmm. I'm missing something. What are you thinking, chat? Oh, hold on. Bringing our attention back to the security cam is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. It's 7 words. Suck it. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. Wait, that is 8 words. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Oh, the white cloth, it's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Hold your horses, sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just plain dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker, now prove it. A fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The locker can only be opened by the detective they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Is that jerky? Only got 1 word for you, partner. No! Order, order, witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now, then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Olay! Please answer the question. Was he now a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for anyone to hide in the evidence room. Yet, Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Sure, wait, there's a little hideaway right there, if he's slim enough. Officer Marshall was standing right there. There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he knew for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confirmed. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his ID card, sir. Yes. And how did the Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzles me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would need it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it? You're going to have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I was dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like... I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What do I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was open in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later, as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open the locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of evidence? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot. Very well, let's take another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness put away the white cloth. Huh. Here comes Goodman. Sorry, Marshall. Wait a minute. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know what to end. And entered the evidence room, though I don't know what end yet. Yeah. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked. The white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat? You could have just walked out like that. So you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Now then, Officer Marshall. Are you ready to tell us the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did, all of it. All right. It seems the time has come. I had to do something that day. I just couldn't stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. I managed to escape. I knew areas wouldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you? But there's one thing I don't understand. Traces of large quantities of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's a donor. It was way too much blood for a small donation. When you said it, you mean... You even have to ask, partner? There's the Nine incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to be completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I had anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. The case was mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of the investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? Why not ask him? If I didn't make it look like Goodman, I was carrying out the evidence transfer, I'll be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole it the moment of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out the lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card was found left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint. Activate lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But he could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I was inspecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me. I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. With me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and I managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on the day there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker room? Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is this evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID? Injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are even a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one's mine. And I'd do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence. I remember Joe Dark's case. It involved serial murderers, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something still bothering me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I'd better take another look at the files. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by. I have the files. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Oh, there's that link. I gotta press it. Hold on. There's that link. Promised me viewers and fame and everything. Yo, there's even a shirtless dude on it. Wait a minute. He was banned. Oh. Messy got to it first. Messy, how you doing? How's your day? And yo, cheers to summer. Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you heard that name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed, and the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He's my brother. I mean, look at it. What other Texas people do you know in Japan? God, people are dumb in Texas. He was investigating the murders with Damian Grant, the then Deputy Chief of Police. Right, Messy, cheers to summer. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dock. My brother fought Doc and was killed. That was the first time Doc left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dock. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the record says. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 incident could be reopened. Not satisfied with the resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The thing that happened by chance never ceases to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than that. So no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime. That means the murder at the prosecutor's parking lot was the real one, which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait, a verdict hasn't been reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But the only reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday, there yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved. No doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Starr, not porn actor, is completely uncontestable. Actually, I wonder. Hold on. You know, by God. So it turns out Angel Starr's a bodybuilder. Damn, those are some muscles. Yo, that pack of abs. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. I don't think that was even a word. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera tape really was fake, but I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana's guilt. Now then, time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant Whoa! Hello! Your Honor, wait! Emma? Defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian, Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor. I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident refers to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentioned it, the names of both Sky sisters were in the file, but that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day, so I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprints. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No. But I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd sure to find a clue. So, I ran over there and looked at it again. So, did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry. I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up now then, Mr. Wright. With regards to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Look at the floor plans. A handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry it can't be more of use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be. Please answer the question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I needed to contradict, it's now. What could possibly be wrong with the handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I missed? Yes. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intense at that floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let's pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all the evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something was missing? Blue Badger. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger? Mascot of the police force? Defender of truth, good guardian of proof. Explain yourself right. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here, so watch what happens when we put the Blue Badger in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? Gasp! That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing there, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. What? So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't been done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me. I didn't put them there. Mr. Wright, think through it scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the only one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would have been impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So, that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just a moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilt not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hands, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape was proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you pose really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To summarize the defense's claim that, prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in the evidence room. That's right. The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well. Then tell us. When did the first incident occur? As Mr. Edwards said, proof must be presented. Proof that must be shown when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense present its evidence? Wait a minute. We don't know who 777 is.